So today's lesson is lesson 1.2, day 2. We're going to continue on solving multi-step equations. And our objective is to be able to write and solve them. Okay, write and solve multi-step linear equations. Always have our title and our objective. Today we're going to focus on words and what that looks like in equation form and then solving it. Okay, so we have write and solve an equation to find the variable. And we have the words 9 less than a number x equals 24. Well, equals 24. I can write that. Okay. I want to talk about this 9 less than deal. I'm going to scooch in here. Okay. When it says 9 less than a number, okay, that means you're starting with the number x and saying you have x. Now you are less 9. So I subtract 9 from it. So it would be written like this, x minus 9. That means 9 less than x. Later on, we'll be dealing with inequalities. And you'll hear the word less than again. But with inequalities later, you'll notice we have an extra word that is sandwiched with it. It'll say is less than. When there is less than, that's going to be your hint to use inequalities. We'll get to that later in the chapter, but I wanted to let you know that, yes, we'll see less than again, but just that small little word is being in front will change the meaning of it. Right now, there's no word is, and that's why I know it's subtraction, okay? So then from here, once I have my equation, I can solve this guy, okay? What are we going to do to solve this guy? Plus 9, yeah, add 9 to both sides. So x minus 9 equals 24. I'm going to add 9, and it's a balanced scale, right? The equal sign is the middle. It's balanced on both sides. If I add 9 to one side, I got to add 9 to the other. So what does x equal then? 33. Awesome. We're not going to check this guy, but I could quickly check him back in. 33 minus 9 equals 24, and I'm good to go, okay? Next one here, we have the sum of twice a number and half a number is 20. Equals before was equal to 24. This word is 20 also means equals. So I know it is 20. It equals 20. What does the sum mean? What is sum? Plus. Yes. Okay. So I know I'm adding something. I'm leaving space because I have two things I'm going to be adding, right? The first thing they said, twice a number. Well, let's do x for the number because we don't know what it is. If I have twice a number, how would I write that? 2x. Yes. Good. So 2x. And then same thing on the kind of other end, half a number. That number is the same number they're talking about. So we're still talking about x. How do I write half of x? Very similar to how you wrote twice x. 1/2 x. Yes. Ding, ding, ding. And is it okay if I write it as a fraction or a decimal? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're equivalent. Okay. So I wrote my equation. Can I simplify that equation at all? Yeah. Those both have x's, right? They're like terms. So we can combine 2 plus a half to get 2.5. X equals 20. And then from there we can solve it. What would we do to solve that guy? Divide by what? 2.5. Perfect. Go ahead and divide 20 by 2.5. Remember, the goal is to get that x by itself. We divided by 2.5 because anything divided by itself is 1. And then we have our 1x. We don't write 1x, we just write x. What do you guys get for that? 8. Awesome. Box it or circle it. Okay, next one. 9 times the difference of y and 3 equals 45. Okay, I'm going to go with my equals 45 because that's my easy go-to. All right, is something equals something, okay? 9 times, so multiplication happening there, okay? 9 times, so I could put a dot or I could put parentheses. I like to use parentheses. And then I have to figure out, well, what's in the parenthesis? So it says 9 times the difference of y and 3. What is difference? Subtraction. Does it matter the order I subtract things? Yes. Okay, so whatever they give you first, that's what we have to write first. So did they give me y or 3 first? Y. So it'll be y minus 3. Close the parentheses. And so again, 9 times the difference of y and 3 equals 45. So after I write it, I try and say it and make sure it matches when I say it as well. All right, just in case I mess something up. In this, we could choose to distribute or isolate. What do you guys want to do? Distribute? Let's do it. So distribute your 9 to the y. We get 9y. Distribute your 9 to the minus 3, and we get minus 27. Good. And it still equals 45. We have to keep solving. So what do we get rid of first? Plus 27. Awesome. Oops. Don't know. I said 27, and I was accidentally writing 28. Apologies. Got it. Okay? So now I have 9y equals what? What's 45 plus 27? What was it? 72? Perfect. Okay? Now what do we do? Divide by 9. Yay! I'm going to draw my arrow here. Sometimes when I run out of space and I have more space, I'll draw an arrow so I can write my answer a little bit better. Okay? And that's y equals 8. All right. 3 more. We have the sum of x and 5 equals the product of 11 and x, okay? This time my equal sign, it says equals, is kind of in the middle. And it doesn't tell me it just equals a number, okay? So I'm going to set up my equal sign right in the middle since it's in the middle of my sentence. And we're going to break it down with the first half and the second half. The sum of x and 5. You guys told me the sum meant what operation? Addition. So we can write x plus 5. Then I run into the equals, which in the Word I also run into. And then it says the product of 11 and x. What does product mean? Multiplication, okay? If you need to write multiplication or multiply underneath the word product, just as a reminder later on when you're referencing it. When we write it with 11 and x, we just write it as 11x. Anytime you're multiplying a number with a variable, bless you, your number must come first. That's called your coefficient. All right? So now, we haven't gotten to this guy just yet. So I'm going to hold off on solving him, and I'll come back to him. Let's check out this one. The sum of the product of 4 and a number x and 5 equals 1. Woo! Okay, well, I have equals 1. So at least now I know it's not in the middle. It's going to equal 1. All right, so let's read this again. The sum, okay, so what's sum again? Addition. So I know I'm adding 2 things. Of the product of 4, ooh, I want a highlighter, not a cross out. There we go. Product of 4 and a number x. Product meant what? Multiplication. So if it's 4 and x, how would I write that? 4x. You guys are awesome. 4x and 5. So plus 5. 4x plus 5 equals 1. And I read it. The sum of the product of 4 and x and 5. Whew, there we go. Equals 1. This guy I can solve. Okay, we've solved that before. What are we going to move first, the 4 or the 5? 5. Good. So subtract 5 from both sides. What's 1 minus 5? Negative 4. Good. And then we can divide. And we get x is equal to negative 1. And again, I could plug that back into the original. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4 plus 5 becomes positive 1. It checks out, okay? Last guy here. Negative 16 is twice a number y, okay? Threw us off. Is means equals when it doesn't have, it just has twice after. So I have negative 16 is. So negative 16 equals twice the number y. How do we write that? 2y. Perfect. And I can read it again. Negative 16 is twice a number y. And it makes sense, okay? How do I solve that one? Divide by 2. Good. What's negative 16 divided by 2? Yeah. So I have negative 8 equals y. And I can plug that back in and double check. 2 times negative 8. Yes, that gives me negative 16. Okay. Turn the page. On this guy. So it says, use the table to find the number of miles you need to bike on Friday so that the mean number of miles biked per day is 4. Okay, and then they give us a table. So not only are they giving us a sentence with information, but they're also giving us a table of information. So first off, I want to break down the sentence. What are they asking us to do? Yeah, find the average. How do we find the average? Does anybody remember?
Add them all up and divide by the number.
Yes, add it all up, divide it by the number. So mean, that's where we get average. And yes, add them up, divide by how many? Okay? So I'm going to add up the miles ran, right? So I have 3.5 on Monday, plus 5.5 on Tuesday, plus 0 on Wednesday, plus 5 on Thursday. But I have this other bit of information that they said. They said find the number of miles you need to bike on Friday. Do I know Friday? No. If I have an unknown, can I represent that with a variable? Yes. So Friday is like an X. So I have to add X to this as well. So there's my adding them all up. And then you guys said divide it by how many? How many days are we talking about? Careful. 5 days. Because remember, we don't know what Friday is, but we still need to count him in. So 5 divided by 5. And what are they saying the average is they want it to be? Yes. They want the average to be is 4 means equals 4. Okay. That looks messy, but can we simplify that top a lot? Yeah. When you add up 3.5, 5.5, 0, and 5, what do you get? 14? Okay. So that shrinks down to 14 plus x divided by 5 equals 4. That's much nicer. And it actually looks like those 3 examples we did the other day. Remember when we had them kind of looking like fractions yesterday? Yeah. So am I allowed to move this 14 yet? No. I have to get rid of dividing by 5 first. How do I get rid of dividing by 5? Multiply. So let's multiply by 5 on both sides. The reason why is because remember, 14 plus x, that whole top is being divided by 5. So we can't technically touch the top until we get rid of dividing by 5. Now that we got rid of it, because 5 divided by 5 is just 1, so now we have 14 plus x equals 20. Now can we move the 14? Yeah. How do we move that 14? Subtract. Good. If you are trying to move a positive number, to move it, to get rid of it, you just subtract that same amount. We want to get rid of it, so we're doing minus 14. I keep my scale balanced by subtracting 14 on the other side as well. And so what does x equal then? 6. Good. So how many miles did we bike Friday? Or do we have to? 6. Yeah. We have to bike 6 miles. You could say on Friday if you want.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. This guy here, number 8. You have 96 feet of fencing to enclose a rectangular pen for your dog. Okay? Cool. I like to sketch out what I have. So they said a rectangular pen. There's my dog pen. And they even said 96 feet of fencing. So I would circle or highlight that. To provide sufficient running space for your dog to exercise, the pen should be 3 times as long as it is wide. All right? So 3 times as long as it is wide. Find the dimensions of the pen. So dimensions are your length and the width. That's what we really want to find by the end. W equals what? Length equals what? So that's what they're asking. I need to find this. So I have my rectangular pen drawn. They also tell me I have 96 feet of fencing. Remember, fencing just goes around the perimeter, okay? So we could write perimeter, or you could write P equals 96 feet. Do you guys remember working with perimeter in the past? Okay, so when you're trying to, perimeter and area, that's usually goes hand in hand. Perimeter is the fence part, just the outside of it. So you usually just add up all the sides, and that's your perimeter. Area is like if I was covering the whole, like if I had to seed the grass. The area would be, what do I have to cover, okay? And that would be inside. Perimeter is just talking about the outline. So I'll add my width, I'll add my length, and then I have another width and another length. So I add all 4 sides together, and they should total 96, okay? Now I have a little bit more information. It says 3 times as long as it is wide. Do we know how wide it is? No, so let's do a W for width, okay? If it's asking for it to be 3 times as long as it is wide, how do I write 3 times W? 3W. I know, it was kind of a trick question. That's why I kind of rolled my eyes. 3W, yes, 3 times W. Now, with a rectangle, what is this measurement on this side? W. What's this measurement up here? Yes, part of the properties of a rectangle is that opposite sides are the same. So once we have 2 of the sides, we can find the rest, okay? So by definition, we're gonna take all the sides and add them up. So we have 3W plus W plus 3W plus W, and that should all equal 96. Well, how many W's do I have that I'm adding? 8, yeah. 3, 4, 7, 8. Bingo. So I'm going to way simplify that to just 8W equals 96. Much easier than having all these tiny little pieces. That's where combining like terms is really helpful, okay? Now all we have to do is divide, right? What are we dividing by? 8. Good. What's our width then? 12. Awesome. Is that feet, inches, meters? Feet. Perfect. So when I write my width over here, I'm going to write 12 and then FT for feet. All right. Well, now that we know the width is 12, what would the length have to be? Yeah, 3 times 12, which is 36. Yes. Awesome. So that would be 36 feet. And there is our dimensions that they asked for. Remember, length right here was 3W. That's where they got the 36, okay? The formula, D equals 1/2 N plus 96. Anytime they give us a formula, we want to use it, okay? Don't be like, I don't know what to do. No, if they give you a formula, most likely we're going to have to plug into that same formula. They're giving it to you for a reason. So this relates the nozzle pressure N in pounds per square inch of a fire hose and the maximum horizontal distance D in feet the water reaches, okay? How much pressure is needed to reach a fire 60 feet away? All right. So they told us the distance. How far away is the fire? 60 feet away. Guess what? We're replacing D with 60. So we write 60 equals 1/2. Now the N was the pressure, okay? But they're asking us how much pressure. So are they giving that answer to us? No, so we're going to leave it as N plus 26. Okay, let's solve it. What do we do first? Yeah, subtract. If you want to change your 1/2 to 0.5n, that's fine. They're equivalent. Go for it. It's easier to type into your calculator or do by hand. I don't mind. All right. 60 minus 26. What do we got?
34.
All right. Perfect. How do I get rid of that 0.5? Divide by what? 0.5. So you can divide by 0.5. Is it going to make 34 bigger or smaller? Bigger. Good. When you divide by a decimal or fraction, it actually makes it bigger. It's really like multiplying by 2 in this case. Yeah, so what do you guys get? 68. Awesome. Okay. So how much pressure is needed? Well, 68 pounds per inches squared. Okay? You can write out the words too. I was just abbreviating it. Oop. And I realized I wrote over my next question. There you go. So in this guy, if we're working during the summer, how many hours did they say we worked at the gas station? 20 hours per week at the gas station. And how much do we earn per hour? $5.75. Okay? You also work as a landscaper for $10 per hour and can work as many hours as you want. So is there a limit there? No. Do we know how many hours you worked? No. You want to earn a total of 365 per week. How many hours must you work as a landscaper? All right. So, gas station. You guys told me you worked 20 hours for $5.75. What do we do with both of those numbers to figure out how much you make there? Ooh, not divide. Multiply. Yes. Okay? So we're going to multiply it. How much do you make? 115? Awesome. Okay? Landscaper. I'm just going to abbreviate for land. We don't know how many hours, so let's use, do you want X or H? X? All right. X hours for how much? $10. What are we going to do with 10 and X? Times. Okay? So we write it as 10X. Now, if I want to make $365 in total, what do I do with those two? Not multiply them. Divide. Add them. You're totaling. You have to find the sum. So we're going to add them. So we do 115 plus 10x equals 365. That's what they want. They want all your money to add up to 365. Okay? Now we can start solving. What do we do first? Yep, minus your 115 from both sides. Good. 250, right, you said? Okay, perfect. And then divide by 10? Awesome. So how many hours do you have to work? Right? At least. If you could work more, go for it. But they definitely want at least 25. So you can work 25 hours per week. Remember, you guys have the homework paper that you can use. You can use your notebooks with lined paper if you prefer to write in lined paper. Totally fine.